But if you don't want to find out, you better get out of there fast. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Stevie the Guide here in Kerrville, Texas, on the bank of the Guadalupe River. It's 5 o'clock on a beautiful Tuesday morning, and I just wanted to have another rant and rave, just in my own unique personal way, trying to save the humanity. The planet's going to make it. You know, sooner or later, when it gets sick of us, it's going to shake us off like flies on a horse. You know, it'll just wrestle around a little bit. The planet will rid itself of us if we become too much trouble. But it's humanity that needs saving. And raising the collective vibration of it is the way I intuitively think that'll happen. And that balancing of the left and right brain, the raising of the electromagnetic heart energy. I'm doing whatever I can here. And instinctively, I know I'm supposed to, so I do. It doesn't matter if I look ridiculous. If something's worth doing, it's worth doing badly in the beginning. So I can't fail to be me, so that's what I'm going to do. And if you happen to be watching while I look in this mirror, well, welcome. I love you. I love you with all my heart and soul. And I love you so much that I'm willing to tell you my authentic, genuine human being experience with as few, if any, filters as I possibly can, because that's the only way that I can be fully passionate, and it's the only way that you'll learn anything about me. And instead of some contrived bullshit, I'm just going to throw it out there any way I know how. And you can be anything you want to be. I like that Cat Stevens song, you know. If you want to sing out, sing out. If you want to be free, be free. Because there's a million ways to be, and you know that there are. If you want to live high, live high. And if you want to live low, live low. Because there's a million ways to go, and you know that there are. And that leads me into this quote of the day that I always liked, and I don't know who wrote it, but it comes from the movie The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Maybe they should have created a movie about me, Stevie the Guide, The Curious Case of Stevie the Guide. You know, some people actually ask me, they don't exactly know who I am because I call myself Stevie the Guide. My name is Steve Dyer, by the way, and where did Stevie the Guide come from? Well, my grandmother used to call me Stevie, as did my mom and many of my family members. And I was always Stevie. And then one time back in 1989, I got to go on an African hunting safari, which I'll be telling you about. I had a profound experience there. And the outfitter from Texas who sent us on that trip, his company name was called Expeditions by Ron the Guide. So being the artist that I am, I stole like an artist, and I stole, Ron the Guide and turned it into Stevie the Guide, and that's how it happened. Sorry, Ron. I love that guy. He liked to tell stories, and that's how he sold us this big package. Anyway, this quote from... and I don't know, again, I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but it was in the movie The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and it goes like this. For what it's worth, it's never too late to be whoever you want to be. There's no time limit. Start whenever you want. You can change or stay the same. There are no rules to this thing. We can make the best or the worst of it. I hope you make the best of it. I hope you see things. Let me just start over. Okay, I'm just going to read it to you. I'm trying to look at you at the same time. So let me just read it directly to you. For what it's worth, it's never too late to be whoever you want to be. There's no time limit. Start whenever you want. You can change or stay the same. There are no rules to this thing. We can make the best of it or the worst of it. I hope you make the best of it. I hope you see things that startle you. I hope you feel things you never felt before. I hope you meet people who have a different point of view. I hope you live a life you're proud of, and if you find that you're not, I hope you have the strength to start all over again. If you don't like the path you're on, you can change. You can change everything. And there's no rules to this thing called life. There's really not. You want to do your very best to love people and not hurt people in the process of trying to be you. But there are no rules. And really, folks, if you're not in a place, in a relationship, in a career, in a situation that brings out the best in you, that brings out the real juice in you, the passion in you, that desire to be your best and to wake up every day excited about living life, if you're not in that place, then you're not doing your highest and best service to the people around you anyway. All right? And you're just dragging through some drill. And that's no way to live. And so it's not that you have to go out and, end your relationships and quit your job today, but it does bear study on what is it that you want? What is your desire? What is it that gives you that burning passion? What is it you dream about and have visions about? We talked about, creating a vision like I did at that Tony Robbins seminar in Hawaii in '89. And it's, you cannot walk down the street without first you imagine it. And so what is it within you that you desire? What do you want? And there's that movie, Good Will Hunting. I always liked that movie with Robin Williams and Matt Damon. And he's that kid who's the genius, and he can do anything. And Robin Williams is this psychiatrist, and he's got these amazing mathematical abilities, and he's a child prodigy, but he's been damaged along in his first 18 years of life when he was a kid. And so he really is stuck in this place where he's in a limited capacity. He's got these buddies around him, and so he's in this sort of safe spot where he's just like a bricklayer or doing construction with his friends. And I can identify with that, sort of hiding in a place where you're not really producing like you should. You're standing still in life. You're almost a non-entity. You're not succeeding the way you're grossly underemployed. You don't have a passion, and part of that is identifying what you desire. Because if you're in that sort of state, if you're just sort of in an inert sort of place where you're just sort of going through the motions, well then. You haven't found it. You're stuck in this thing. There's not a desire, and that's really what it's all about. That's how you're going to squeeze the juice out of life, is you have to identify that thing which you're willing to exclude all other things for. There's a great book by what's his name, Gary Keller, I think of Keller Williams fame. And it's called The One Thing. The one thing is that which you zero in on and that you really want, and you're willing to just militantly exclude all the other things in order to make time to develop the one thing. And that's the one thing that you want so badly that you're willing to sacrifice, and you're willing to focus and concentrate and channel your energies. It's all about desire, and you should never underestimate desire. And if you get stuck in a place, try to sit around and do some thinking about what is it that you truly want. And I have a hard time with that. I've been stuck oftentimes here lately in what I call the corner of walk and don't walk. Right? It's a place where you think maybe I should go back but I don't, I know I don't really like that. Or maybe I should go forward, but I don't know how that's going to be. And so I just kind of languish in this sort of place where, I'm not really sure and I'm just surviving. And that's sometimes a kind of an easy place to be because you don't got to exert as much effort, but ultimately it causes you to stagnate and mentally and emotionally die. All right. And so what is it you want? Part of what I want is I want to figure out how to effectively deliver messages online. And what am I doing about that? I'm sitting here talking to you, all right? Every day I'm going through this exercise, this mental gym. It comes out of me. I look at it. I see how it goes, I see all the mistakes I made, or the flaws in the message, and by doing, hopefully I improve. And so this is the way I know how to do it. So I desire that. I desire to be a influential public speaker. I desire to talk in front of crowds. I wish to use the whole body of my unusual life experience in some effective way that might help people. And that's what I desire. What do you desire? What do you want? And what are you doing about it? Now, more importantly, what action are you taking? Hey, I'm sitting here, baby. I'm bringing it, baby. I'm bringing it. I'm trying to do whatever I can to get better, to improve, to practice my craft. And and that's all I know how to do. I mean, read some books, talk to people, take a class, whatever it is, or just start doing it. I love that John Wayne movie where he throws that kid into the river. The kid tells him he doesn't know how to swim, and so he just picks him up and tosses him in there. That's kind of what I'm doing now. Just learn by doing. But don't underestimate desire. And I was thinking about this morning. It just came to me a few minutes ago. But you don't underestimate the desire of children, especially if you got younger kids. And kids, there's something special about kids because they're not all covered up in their vision, their ability to believe in what their visions are. They're willing to have a go and try something new, and they're willing to pour all their effort. If they want to dig a hole to China, by God, they're going to take a shovel and dig a huge pit in the backyard, until they finally figure out, it's probably not going to get all the way there. But they're going to try, right? Try to do it, And and so a good example of that was back when I was a little kid. When I was 5 years old, we lived over in Houston by Greenway Plaza in a place called Sunset Terrace in our old house. And then when I was about 5 years old, we moved out to West Houston, a Memorial area, which was just then being developed. I want to say about 1964, 63, 64. We moved out to the Villages out in Memorial. And it was like going to the wild, it really was. You remember in that movie Madagascar, the little penguin pops out of the hole and he sees the zebra there and he goes, "Shh, man, don't tell anybody, but we're going to the wild," and the zebra goes, "The wild? You can actually go there?" Well, it was like that, I mean, we moved to this house where there's nothing. There was a horse stable directly behind us, and there was endless forest all around. And on both sides of our street, really, there's just pine trees and trails and wilderness areas everywhere. And to my 5-year-old eyes, it was like moving to a different planet. And there was, you're in kind of the wild when there's a barbed wire fence on two sides of your half-acre yard. And my parents built a house out there. And I mean, I remember just peering across that barbed wire fence into the woods thinking, wow, and back in there was like a couple of old abandoned houses, and there was, thickets, with little trails. And we got a machete that we found somewhere at one point. We were blazing trails through there. I mean, it was cool. And so when we got to be about teenagers, and I must have been 10, 11, 12 years old. And it was my brother, Eddie. Eddie, I love you, baby. Nobody makes me laugh like my brother, Eddie. And few people have influenced me more than my brother, Eddie. And he's got this amazing drive. When he has a desire for something, he pours his heart and soul into it. And especially when he was a little kid. And a major example was him and his buddy, George, got this idea one day. They hatched this plan to build a treehouse, all right? And so my dad, one Saturday, my dad's like sitting there watching the football game on television, and Eddie comes running in and says, "Dad, hey, would it be all right if we build a treehouse?" And Dad's, sitting there drinking a glass of wine. He's like, "A treehouse, right?" "Yeah, sure, son. Yeah, that'd be fine," And probably in Dad's mind, he was thinking, "Yeah, right, that's going to happen." And he underestimated the desire of my brother Eddie and his friend George. And who did they incorporate as their slave for this project? Little Stevie, And so what Dad didn't fully grasp at the time, we had this half-acre yard, and there was a back corner there that was kind of, obscure, and it had these tall pine trees there, and there was 3 of them in a triangle. And what Dad didn't fully get was that they were already starting to develop. By the time I was 10 or 12 years old, they were already starting. They had built a street back behind our house, and there were construction projects everywhere. And so there was endless supplies of 2x4s and nails. And you give a kid, all the 2x4s he wants, especially a kid like my brother Eddie, with a desire to do something. He has a vision in his mind, and he's got boundless energy, and he's got slaves, and so what does he do? This tree house that was built one day, some weeks later, my dad, pulled in the driveway and parked his car and happened to look around where the trash cans were, and which obviously he wasn't paying all that much attention to. And he looked up, and what he saw in 3 trees, it didn't start, this treehouse didn't start until it was over 1 story high. So the bottom floor of it was higher than the garage, right? And what he saw was a 3-story high-rise condo with a top patio on it, and actually another little thing where you could climb up and look out from Memorial. We could see downtown Houston from there. I mean, he looked up there. He was like, "Holy shit," And what he didn't realize was that we had all the building materials and all the drive, and so between 3 trees. We built a platform, and then we put walls on it, and it had bunk beds, it had shuttered windows and gun ports. We had BB guns, man, and if we had to, we would rappel borders. It had a ladder that came up from the ground, and you had to climb to a height that was about the height of the garage just to get in the front door. And then you'd go in there, and there were ladders that went up through it into the 2nd and 3rd floors. They were full-size floors, all right? And you get up into the top of it, and there's a deck up on the top. You could sit up there, see the whole world. I mean, this thing, to me, was the living end. It really was. And one of the cool things was when you get up in there, if you didn't want anybody else to be able to get up in there, if we heard Mom calling, we just pull up the ladder and hang out in there and be real quiet, you know, like nobody was there. She'd be saying, I know you boys are up there, you know, you come down right now. We'd be like, shh. You know? But it just kept getting bigger and more elaborate. And it really finally dawned on my dad what had happened one day when a contractor showed up at the house knocking on the door and said, hey, you know, I think there's been some lumber and some nails disappearing from my job site, you know. And Dad had to cough up, you know, $50 or $100 to cover it. You know, he didn't really, he told us, you know, not, we didn't really feel like it was stealing. We were pulling off the, you know, what we thought were scrap piles, but, you know, that's a dicey sort of thing. And hopefully it wasn't too terribly dishonest, but obviously the contractor didn't like it. But it was all driven. It was all driven, this whole structure, which, you know, it's hard for me to describe to you how elaborate this treehouse was. I mean, this was a full 3-floor condo, and there was probably, you know, a couple of thousand nails used in it. The poor pine trees suffered terribly, and it stayed up there for years, and then finally, Dad had somebody when we were leaving home. You know, Dad had somebody come and tear it down. It was a real heartbreaker. But I had some amazing experiences in there, and you know, and I got stronger. You know, because they'd say, all right, climb out on that limb with this saw and saw the end of that off. You know, or go up there and pound, you know, 40, 50 nails in there or whatever it was. You know, we're going to build this, we're going to do that. And Eddie and George, you know, just ran the show. They were the generals. I was the lowly buck private. And I got a lot of my basic carpentry skills from that. One time I went to a boarding school in Arizona, and when I was 17, I was exiled to this school out in Tucson, Arizona, you know, when I was 17. And what a blessing that was. It was called the Fenster School of Southern Arizona. And it was out in the desert. It backed up into Sabino Canyon. And the headmaster was Dennis Gray from New Zealand. Dennis, I love you, baby. I know you're still alive over there in Phoenix. And if you're watching, you know, you left a deep impression. Thank you for all you did for me. But the point is, they gave me this room, which is a pretty big room, but it's just a square box. And one weekend, when everybody sort of went off to town or whatever, I went to the school woodpile, got these 4x4 beams, built this platform up inside of my room where, you know, I made a room in the second upper half of my room. And I put my bed and stuff up there and took the old beds out. And so I had this whole living room, and I had this private bedroom up there. And when the school finally figured out what I'd done, I'd anchored it all into the walls and everything, and they couldn't really take it out without destroying the whole place, so they let me keep it all year. And they called me the Lord of the Loft. And that all those skills came from that treehouse and that desire to build and design, and this is how it goes with your life, folks. This is how it goes. Well, you first get a desire that's so strong you're willing to exert a lot of effort toward it. And you know, how many more minutes do we have in life here? How many? You know, tick tock. I've already had a few friends, you know, graduate from life and take off for parts unknown, you know, and this is, you know, I get the sneaking suspicion at 60 years old that this is going to happen to me at some point too. And so what is it you want, Will? And Goodwill Hunting, that Robin Williams is asking Matt Damon, what is it you want? You're bound by nothing. You've got this amazing mind. You can do whatever you want to do. And what is it you want? And he goes in this, whole drill about it's honorable being a bricklayer and blah, blah, blah. But it finally boils down to, what do you want? And he says, well, I think I want to be a shepherd. And Robin goes, oh, a shepherd, right? He goes, yeah, I think I want to go and get some sheep and tend them, And that's when Robin kicks him out of his office, all right? Because he says, I ask you a simple question, like, what do you want? And you can't give me an answer. All I get is a bullshit answer from you. What do you want, right? And it's not an easy question, folks. It's not an easy question. I got trouble with that question, too. I'm getting there. And as evidenced by the fact that I'm sitting here talking to you on this camera, I'm getting to exactly what I want, but I don't precisely know exactly. And so I just keep working it in that short film. If you haven't seen the short film called Finding Joe, the classic tale of the hero's journey. It's all about Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey, which is the thread that runs through almost all adventure stories about people's lives. Dorothy and the Wizard, she's living a normal life. Something happens. She has to leave home and find her way in this sort of strange land. She's cast out into the desert, has to follow the yellow brick road and figure it out, what in that movie, the Finding Joe, it talks about, if you don't know what you desire, if you don't know what you want, go looking, right? Go looking, right? Go and see things that people do. Try to stop distracting yourself with bullshit, all right, with crap, television and news and novels that are entertaining, but they don't lead you to this place of real life adventure, real life passion. What is it you want? All right, what do you desire so badly? And so stop spending your time doing stuff that will not lead you there, but are momentarily interesting, all right? What Matthew McConaughey terms it process of elimination. If you don't know who you are, stop or start eliminating that which you are not, all right? That which will not lead you to what you desire, all right? For certain that drinking too much, for certain, that will not lead you into a state of high passion, high productivity, willing to sacrifice to accomplish something in life, and eliminate that, eliminate the things that are not you, that are not helpful. Purify yourself, your physical health, your body. It's hard to have passion when you don't feel well, when you feel sluggish, when you feel overweight, when you feel, tired and want to sleep all the time. I know about this. I do. It's a process of refinement, and it is not a simple one. But if you want to squeeze the most juice out of life, this is the best way to go about it. Once upon a time, when I was here in Kerrville, people asked me about Stevie the Guide. I created these children's adventure stories. Now, why did I do that? Here's one. This is what one of them looked like. These audio CDs that I recorded at the Hill Country Youth Ranch. All right? And why did I do this? Well, it was born out of a hobby that I liked, right? A hobby. What is a hobby? It's just you do something that you enjoy, all right? When my nieces and nephews were little, I used to tell them stories, and I think I may have told you about my niece Meady, who was autistic. And Meady, baby, I love you so much. You changed my life. And she didn't even realize that she was just expressing her desire. I was telling a story, Grinch That Stole Christmas, and I like to tell the kids stories. And then she said, no, wait a minute, Uncle Stevie, we want a real story. We want a story with us in it, all right? And that statement right there changed my life. I said, oh, you want to go somewhere. You want to do something, You want a story about that. All the kids were like, yeah, that's what we want. And that excited me, because I have traveled so extensively and I've got a wide range of characters and settings, to be able to use. And she just, that one statement from Meady that she wanted that from me, started me on a path of telling original type stories where I would take the kids, we'd say, okay, now we can't just run off right away. We got to plan and prepare. We got to pack, some stuff. We got to go to the store. We need some hiking boots. We need some insect repellent. We need this and that. And, and then, we go through that. And then it's like, okay. You don't just, arrive in Africa or China. Got to go to the airport. Got to get on a plane. Everybody strap in. All right, are you strapped in? They loved this stuff, because it was real, right? And then we take off on the plane, and we fly over to China, and we come out, and everybody's speaking Chinese, they loved it. And we find some little Chinese man. He'd take us around on a tuk-tuk, and go tuk-tuk. And then we go to some little market, and we haggle for stuff, and we take a little riverboat ride, and we, just do all kinds of stuff. And then we take an ocean liner back, get on the ship, and it was fun, and it was a hobby, and I liked doing it. And ever since I was a little kid, I like to tell stories. And so, what did I do with all that? Well, I went and became a real estate broker, which made a living for my family. But I ignored the hobby, the thing for which I had desire. And now I'm coming back to that now. I'm coming back more to that natural desire that I have. And I still sell property here in Kerrville, Texas. If you want to buy a home or a ranch or something like that, I'll sure sell you one. But what is it? Well, I'm trying to find what I desire. I like to tell stories in some form or fashion. I want to tell stories that entertain, that amuse, that are interesting, and I'm exploring how to do that, and I'm willing to do it badly in the beginning in order to refine that and get better at it. And there's nothing quite like being on a stage, especially when you're talking to one of these things. You can be talking on a world stage. I mean, I've had people some guy contacted me from Boston. Another person was in Arkansas. Another person was somewhere else. I mean, people see this stuff. They respond to it. So I get a little feedback. I'm a sucker for encouragement. So, hey, feel free. Or criticism. One of the hardest things is to get criticism out of people. Honest, constructive criticism. Now, my brother Eddie, in addition to being the guy that makes me laugh the most, he criticizes me the most too, which is sometimes hard on me because I was a little brother. But most of the time he's spot on. And so if you've written something or you've painted something or whatever, try to get people who will give you honest feedback, what they actually think, not just stroke you with, oh, that was nice. Throw it out there. Throw yourself out there. I mean, look, how much time you got? Here in just a few minutes, a few breaths left, you'll be dirt, all right? Dirt. It's not maybe, folks. This thing is really going to happen. All right. One of the funniest stories I heard from my friend Steve Clack here in Kerrville. He's a lawyer. And he told me one time, he says, a lot of times I get these rich guys coming into my office. They want me to write up a will, and they start to dictate to me how that will is going to be written. They say, okay, if I die, I want this to go here. I want the land to go there. I want the money to go here, and so forth and so on, trust funds. And Steve goes, wait, hang on just a second. We can't write it that way. And Mr. Rich and Powerful says, why not? That's the way I want it. And he goes, no. The last will and testament cannot begin with the words, if I die, all right? It's got to begin with the words, when I die, all right? This thing's really going to happen, and you're not even going to get to take your underwear with you, all right? You're leaving it all. And it could be quicker than you think, all right? I've had some friends, folks, bless their hearts, they've crashed and burned quickly and recently and suddenly. And, there's just there's no certain checkout time here, all right? And so if there's something you want to do, baby, now's the time, right? Find that which you desire and try it. Try something. What does Franklin say? I love that saying. Try something. If it doesn't work, admit it frankly and try something else. But above all, try something, all right? This is the game here. This is the game. 5 to 6 every morning, I try something, all right? And you should try something too, whatever it is that you want to do, because what often happens is you get to a point where you can't function anymore. If you don't die right away, you die in pieces, all right? You die, slowly and languish, and where you can't function, you can't walk, you can't talk, you can't think so good, you feel tired, you're sick all the time. And so there's only so much time to walk in the sunshine as a fully functioning human being, or in whatever capacity you still have, if you're, let's put it this way. If you're still breathing, then your mission in life is not over, all right? If you're still alive, you've got another day, or at least, you've got right now. And that's where to stay, is in the present moment. and I go back to the meditation practice all the time, and it's not easy for me. I'm talking to myself too. Even though I know a lot about meditation, I don't always do it, and it's good, all right? It's good to settle yourself down into a meditative state, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes a day, or 2 or 3 times a day for 5 or 10 minutes. However you can, to settle yourself down into a meditation practice, to just listen to your breathing, and give that chattering monkey mind a job, which is simply to pay attention to your breathing. And when you do that, it'll cause that tenacious left brain logical to settle down, to become still. Eventually it will. Believe me, it will. And I've experienced this many, many times, and it doesn't always happen when I meditate. And sometimes it takes me, 20, 30 minutes to make my mind settle down. But it's like Joe Dispenza says, if you're willing to command your body to do what you want, and in the morning time, if you tell that body, look, I'm going to get you coffee later, you're going to get to look at your emails later and talk on your phone and do your texts and think about junk that you're agitated about later. But right now, you're going to sit your ass down in that chair like a dog, like training a dog, all right? It's very much like that. And that little puppy wants to move, all right? He wants but if you're training him to sit, all right, you've got to bring him back and command him to sit, and bring him back and bring him back and bring him back, and pretty soon his will be broken, and his or her will, and he'll begin to understand that you're going to take care of him, you're going to let him run around, but right now it's important that he sits still. And if you'll do that with your own body, and not let your body be in charge. General Patton said, the body always wants to quit, all right? but the mind has to override the body, and that's what you have to do. You have to make yourself sit still and pay attention to your breathing. And if you'll go through this exercise, you might be surprised to find that those innermost desires that you have will come forward, and they're all covered up with what you've been told and trained to believe are not possible, or practical, or logical. What that you're not good enough, not smart enough, not thin enough, not heavy enough, not strong enough, not enough. All right, that you are not enough to be able to have those desires that you hold inside. And you may also find as you meditate that many things come up from that deep well of your intuition. As your left and right brain balance out, and that right brain intuitive, that strong feminine energy, that inner knowing that seems to be able to access much broader bandwidth, that Christ consciousness, not only may you fairly quickly find what you desire and what you want so much before you die and are buried or burned up, but also you may realize, as I did, that many things have happened back along the pathway that have led me to here that are actually tremendously valuable. Supernatural things, that what we call supernatural. But you may recall I hold this weekly meeting here in Kerrville called the Forbidden Discussions. It's been at Unity Church now since last August, but we're going to have a couple more there. We're going to have an intermission where this other guy, his name is Carlin O'Neill. Carlin O'Neill. A wonderful man he's a strongly right brain intuitive. He's a man who was raised in West Texas, and he was one of the folks that is raised with a much stronger right brain intuitive. Carlin is about 75 maybe, and was raised in this conservative West Texas town. And it was much more difficult for him to do reading, writing, arithmetic. They labeled him as dyslexic. And when really he was just much stronger in the right brain. As he's gone along, he's had to sort of raise that left brain more and work at that, and functioning in the world. But a fascinating guy. And he's going to be doing either a 4 or 5 week series called The Rhythms of the Universe. And I'm gonna go to that and support him in that. That's at Unity Church, 7 o'clock it'll start on January 30th. And so my forbidden discussions will go up until the week before that, which would be, I guess, the 23rd. And January 23rd, and then on January 30th, Carlin O'Neill's Rhythms of the Universe will start, and that ought to be fascinating. And after that 4 or 5 week deal, then we're gonna restart the Forbidden Discussions, and we may do it right over here at our office on Water Street, and so I'm excited about all that. But anyway, Carlin is one of these people that had just a broad awareness. He is one of these folks that naturally has a much more access to things in the universe, to that broader band of information. And again, I'll remind you all the time, because many people discount this power. It's not a supernatural power that you can access information. It's just that we squash it down, and it's some of the examples are uncommon. When you have a near drowning experience, and all of a sudden, or a near death experience, and all of a sudden you have these fantastic journeys into the different realm where you see God and you're bathed in the light and you see family members and all that kind of stuff. And it seems like everybody's near-death experience, or at least many of them, are very, very similar. And to all of them, it seems like their life changed from before that near-death experience to afterward. And all of a sudden, it's like ayahuasca. And I'll be talking about that. I may spend a whole week on nothing but ayahuasca because it's so fascinating. And that's a plant medicine that it's a sacred ceremony plant that they use in South America, where I lived for about 8 years. But the near-death experience, very similar. And people have these uncommon experiences. And the right brain intuitive has to do with visions and dreams and this broader awareness, perspective. Why does someone get struck by lightning and all of a sudden they can see, they can write and play symphony quality music? Go online and look up a CD called the Lightning Sonata. All right, that's by a orthopedic surgeon from New York who was struck by lightning, I think in 1998. I can't remember his name, but the guy didn't have any music education at all. And after he was hit by lightning, he could play like Mozart, like Chopin. And answer me how he knows how to do this. Something changed his channel, his radio channel, and all of a sudden he could do this. You'll hear me say that over and over because many people discount this power that we have. I believe we have been under siege for hundreds of years, discounting our natural abilities. And I, for one, am tired of that, and I will not pretend anymore. I have had many encounters with, the supernatural beings that came to my house when I was 5, and flying over the elementary school outside of my body when I was 6, and this intuition to travel the planet, and the protection that I've had in different very dangerous situations that I've been in. It's amazing that I'm alive. I should not be alive. I really shouldn't. I told you about the pickup truck thing where I flew out of it. I was jumping over this thing where I could have fallen a long way. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that I could have been really badly injured or killed, but I believe that there's some forces, God, angels, Saint Michael. One day I was walking, Saint Michael comes to mind. In the darkest days before I got divorced, and I was in Houston, and I'd been married for 20 years, a wonderful woman, and who I love with all my heart and soul. But our vibration was just not the same, and so we had gradually become polarized, and I didn't know what to do about it, and I was terribly depressed. And we had come back from Peru, and I was in Houston, Texas, and I was in this state where, going back to trying to fight with people over real estate deals had become much harder, especially in that urban jungle where we had lived in Peru and the hill country before that. And so anyway, I was walking by this baseball field one day there in Kingwood. They have these ball fields in this park. And I walked by this fenced ball field, and I saw a bright twinkle out in the grass. And it was, I thought at first, well, maybe that's a bottle cap or something, but it shined so brightly, I knew it couldn't be that. It was just this penetrating, reflection, this light. The sun was, at an angle, and I walked and I saw it flash at me, and it was, 50 yards away. And then it was gone. It was just momentary, and I backed up, and then it shined at me again when a light hit it just right, and I was like, "What is that?" And I started to walk away, and then I thought, I got to know what that is. It just it called to me, and so I went over there, and I walked around, out there in center field, kind of behind second base. I climbed over the fence, and I wandered around out there for quite a while. I knew it was there somewhere. And what I found was this little charm right here. It's on my key ring. And if you can see that, it's a picture of Saint Michael. All right, it's a little charm, and it's a community ball field out there, and I didn't know how to go about, trying to find the owner. It was probably some kid that was running the bases, or the shortstop or something. I don't know, but Saint Michael, I just picked it up and took it home, and that's St. Michael. It was a James Avery charm, and there was no chain or anything on it. And so I looked up on James Avery. It said St. Michael, and I learned all about him and how he's a guardian angel. So I've always felt a kinship to St. Michael, and do with that what you will. But I have this series of events. I will talk a lot about Kundalini. And I will talk about these series of strangers, basically, that showed up in my life and started to affect my life in dramatic ways. The abbot of the Jade Buddha Temple in Houston, who's the founder of the American Bodhi Center, Venerable Hung Yi, and Wendy Strebe, the vibrational healer who I didn't really know in high school. She contacted me. I wound up going to Costa Rica and having amazing sessions with her. And then on to Colombia. I had met the head shaman of an old respected tribe, and I wound up going down there to a 12-day healing retreat and taking a plant medicine called ayahuasca, which are two jungle plants boiled together. And all these things had an effect on breaking me out of what were, in my mind, limitations. I had a limited way of thinking. I was stuck in a default pattern of thinking that I only had limited choices, and that I was imprisoned in this sort of scenario, and there was no way out. And this is what was depressing me. I never thought about hurting myself ever. But I had a pistol in my desk drawer, and I threw away all the bullets just because I didn't want it around. And this is, the point of all that is that I wouldn't give myself permission to really take a look at what I desired. What did I want? What did I want? And I think that happens to a lot of people. And you look at people in the store, in the restaurant, just walking around the street. They look sad, and they look, subdued. And it's my hope in some small way that I can shake a few of them out of there. That there's a few little starfish dying on the beach, and I can throw them out there like that little boy in the parable, and save that one, That the little boy's throwing starfish out in the ocean. The old man comes up and says, look at all these starfish, What difference do you think you can make, And the little boy looks defiantly at the old man. And he takes a little squiggling starfish dying on the beach. It's been washed up there. And he fires it way out in the ocean. And he looks back at the cynical old man and he says, it made a difference to that one, That's good philosophy, Take people one at a time, You're not going to save the world, but you can clean up your little corner of it. And by that, I mean not only yourself, your hygiene, your health, your energy, identifying your desire. All these things will refine your energy, will raise your vibration. All right. But one thing that definitely will also is if you take the initiative to reach out to people and say something like I do or something else. But I say, hey, and they go, yeah. And I say, have I told you that I loved you today? Because I do. And you will be amazed at the response that you get from that. People are starved for connection. And if you feel alone and you like to talk about all these amazing things that happen to you in your Reiki session or on the massage table or just while you were meditating or dreaming, and you have these fantastic things, and you see light beings flying around, or you see spirit guides, or you've had these, what we term supernatural experiences. Well, if you want to find folks to talk to about all that, then you're going to have to start sharing honestly and openly and authentically yourself, right? And your hopes and dreams, there's a certain risk you take with sharing your desire, all right? And there's something to be said for being a private person. To some degree, and in that, I mean, reach out to people and share love, share encouragement, enthusiasm. Tell them that they look great, their hair looks nice, they're funny. Give them encouragement. But as far as your, what your desire is, what you're building, there's something to be said for hanging on to that. And just working at it consciously, little by little by little. And you get to go to sleep every night saying, you know what? I got a little closer. I got a little closer to that dream. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I get to go to sleep and say, you know what? I did that show just one more goddamn time. I did it again. And that makes me feel good that I actually went to this mental gym here on live TV. Who knows who is watching it? But it makes me feel good, and I get to go to bed tonight saying I got a little closer. I got a little closer to that which I desire, and that raises my vibration. Hopefully it raises yours a little bit. I'm hoping that there's a positive effect out there. I like what Jordan Peterson said. He's the psychologist from Canada. They said, well, why do you do those videos? He said, well, we've gotten over 250,000 notes from people that said they're working with things, they're struggling with things, and it helped them. And if I get one, that will be enough for me. I'm doing it mostly for me. And I believe that you've got to work internally to refine your life in all its areas, in order to raise your vibration so that you will have enough electrical juice to raise the vibration of others. And as we do that, as we balance this left and right brain, as we follow that intuition, that right brain knowing, into our desire, that for which we will have passion and endless amounts of energy. When you get onto this track, it seems to get better and better, and you're just like, yeah, I can't wait to go and do that. And there are people in the world, I used to tell my daughters, the richest people are not necessarily the ones with all the money. You see a lot of people with money who don't seem all that happy, all right? But the richest people in the world, boys and girls, moms and dads, are the ones who get to wake up in the morning and say, oh my God, I get to go do this again. Oh, I love this job. I love this career. I love what I get to do. And it makes them happy. And that is a high vibration. That is something that it's like radar, like I was talking about yesterday. When you send out these signals, these seismic waves into the world, they bounce back to you. And the radar will pick up the positive energy and bring it back. It'll neutralize the negative energy. When your energy is so strong and so powerful, and you've developed yourself, you send it out, you'll neutralize a lot of the negative stuff that comes to you, and you will attract the positive stuff. So your vibration will just get higher and higher. And that's a beautiful thing. And you will surround yourself with positive, energized, passionate people who know what their desire is. That's what you will attract. And along the way, you will naturally try to help others to do the same, because the collective is where it's at. And I believe, as I've said before intuitively, that as we raise the collective vibration here on this planet, as human beings, tap in, they balance that left and right brain, they raise that powerful electromagnetic heart energy, and it sends a beam all the way up into the universe. And collectively, when you reach a certain collective harmony with enough people on this planet, something amazing is going to happen. And you call it the second coming of Christ, you call it the awakening, you call it whatever you want to. But I feel it coming instinctively like the animals. I feel the barometric pressure dropping. There's some big wave coming, and this is the way to prepare for it. And my religious tradition of the Baptist Church points me in this direction. You know, I can't stay inside of a box, but I love that tradition because it points me in the direction of Christ consciousness. You go to a church and you you sing some of the songs, you feel that collective vibration. You know, take the good parts that you need and leave the rest, all right? Doesn't matter where you go, and I don't care if you're Hindu, Muslim, you know, whatever religious tradition, as long as it's centered around love, it's the same love of Christ. Love is love. And I'll leave you with this because it's 6 o'clock. A bell is not a bell until you ring it. A song is not a song until you sing it. The love in your heart was not put there to stay. Love isn't love until you give it away. And I love you very, very much. And I'll see you tomorrow. You know, go find that desire, that passion, and have a great day.